Hello and welcome one and all to Fanimation, home of all things fan-made. I am your host, Mr. Demon Jr., and we are here for our first feature video of the channel. That's right, ladies and Cybermen, today we're talking Dragon Ball Deliverance, a fan-made Dragon Ball animation set in an alternative timeline. Now, right off the bat, I want to say that this is perhaps one of the best fan-animated projects that I have ever seen. And we'll go into more detail as to why I think this is in just a bit. But for now, I want to give a little bit of a background on DBD and what it's all about. Dragon Ball Deliverance is a passion project created by YouTube animator The Notorious Luke. The first episode took 8 years to complete, which is just absolutely unbelievable. Just thinking about the dedication that was put in to make this series just blows me away. It currently has 3 episodes, with a 4th on the way. With each episode, you can see quite clearly the jump in quality with each episode, be it the art and colour, the animation, the effects, the sound, the voice acting, the list goes on. Each episode is a massive improvement, and it's incredibly impressive to see just how much the improvement is with each instalment. And what's more impressive here, and why I have decided to make this video in the first place, and make it the first video of this channel, and why I primed this entire script by saying how good I think this is because this is a bedroom animation studio. This is not a professional studio like Madhouse or something like that. These are people who are doing this off their own backs for no real financial gain. They're doing this because they just love Dragon Ball so much and they believe in the project, and I really have to give a lot of respect to that. I don't know how many people are working on this, but it can't be that many. The description of the first episode states that Luke met some special people, quote unquote, that helped him along the way, but I can't really gather from this if he has a few people animating for him, or he just learned a bunch of techniques and put this together himself. Either way, be it alone or with a small team, the quality of animation in this series is at professional studio levels. In fact, I'd say it's better than most animation studios in the current year. After doing further research, I found that he had 5 main collaborators. Tomotion, Audi Loki, Marimo, Cherry NCR, and Antonio Malalara. Excuse me if I'm ruining these names. I don't know if I'm saying these correctly. As well as a team of around 12 people for the production side. This is by episode 3. So I don't know if this was built up over time, but I don't know if he really had this team by the first episode. Perhaps the team is bigger or smaller now, I'm not so sure, but this definitely explains the jump in the level of quality. To put this in perspective, regular animation studios can have 20 key animators working on a single episode at a time. Key animators don't even do all the work, they just do the key scenes. And the other stuff is taken up by what are called in-betweeners, where there are just as many, if not more, working on the project. I've linked Forgotten Relics' video in the description, which gives a more thorough breakdown of the animation process for anyone that's interested. But with this in mind, so, just to give you an idea, we're talking over 40 plus people being involved in this, probably closer to 60. So with that in mind, Dragon Ball Deliverance is an extraordinary feat for an amateur bedroom studio. Just phenomenal work, really, when you think it's probably like 20 people or less. Now, to break down how professional the animation actually is, I'm going to have to talk about animation styles. Now, I'm no expert on this, so if I'm making a pig's ear of it, feel free to publicly flagellate me in the comments. So, some of the main techniques in animation, especially action sequences, is to animate on frames 1, 2, and 3. Now, most animation is animated on 2s and 3s. The most luscious of animation is filmed at 24 frames per second on 1 frame. So each frame is animated, so there'll be 24 pictures to a frame. But most anime is filmed at 12 to 8 frames per second, so they're halving it basically. They'll take one cell and use it for two frames to build up that 24 picture. If you know what I'm trying to say. And this is to save money on time and production. These techniques are industry standard and are well established, so much so that they've been evolved and used to great effect in shows like One Punch Man and Mob Psycho 100, and I'm sure many others. Dragon Ball Deliverance is able to achieve similar results by using these techniques, yet uses them so well and blends the techniques together in such a genius way that you'd never really notice that it's even happening. And they do this in a better way than even Dragon Ball Super, which is created by a mainstream animation studio with a big budget, which often has incredibly bland set pieces, piss poor choreography, and just overall just lacks that feel that Dragon Ball Z originally had. And if you want to see more on this topic, you can see Zeon's video here, which I'll link in the description, and you'll just see a couple of seconds of here. Now, I honestly can't rave about the animation any more than this, but for me it's an extremely important part of any animation, is to have that fluidity, have that cleverness in how they put the work together, and DBD has knocked it out of the park. So now I should probably get into the writing and the plot. DVD is set in an alternate timeline set a few years after GT, maybe 5 or 10. Goku isn't around, and the Z Fighters are left to be the last line of defense. Now, the Z Fighters are summoned to Namek by these mysterious hooded figures, who turn out to be a group of Namekians who used to run with Lord Slug. Yes, that Lord Slug. They have mistakenly summoned Broly as some kind of weapon, however could not control his unbelievable power and have enlisted the Z Fighters to help stop him from destroying the universe. So it's a little bit reminiscent of maybe Boo or something like that. I won't divulge any more of the plot as you can see it for yourself, but I have to give praise on how creative the writer has been with this story. Each character feels true to the source and gets their own place to shine. They also have their own fighting powers, which help make them feel unique and not just copy and paste, with some new flashy moves that have never been seen before and fit in very well with the Dragon Ball lore. Like, I would be surprised not to see these kinds of moves in like Dragon Ball FighterZ. Like some of the special moves that they have created for the individual characters are phenomenal. We get an all-star cast as well. We've got the cast of Vegeta, Gohan, Piccolo, Trunks, Goten, Pan, Bra, and even Oob, with special appearances from Broly. So honestly, just a stacked roster of characters. You know, you love to see it. There's some interesting twists and turns, and even some character development, which shows a lot of thought went into this. They know a lot about the Dragon Ball lore, whoever wrote this. This is also an alternate timeline where all the movies are also part of the timeline, so they are counted as canon in this alternate reality, which for fan content makes a lot of sense because it gives you more to work with, and let's be honest, it just makes us happy inside. I think having Namekian villains is such a cool thing to do, by the way. I really like that they went with that, and it helps to make Namekians feel powerful and relevant in this incarnation of Dragon Ball. The main leader of the villains is very compelling, and I find myself eager to understand exactly what's going on with him and where the plan that he has will take the story going forward. The only criticisms I really have for this are twofold. One, the dialogue can be a bit too stiff or on the nose, and there's also a fair bit of exposition. To be honest, this is more a nitpick, as I don't expect people who are primarily interested in animation to be world-class writers. and overall it just doesn't really affect the quality. But it's just something that I couldn't help but notice, and if I was going to give a criticism, that would be one. Second is that the sound can be a little bit iffy at times, but again, these guys aren't sound engineers, they're animators, so the sound being a tad rough around the edges is definitely forgivable. Dragon Ball Deliverance is due a new release very soon, and may be released before I manage to get this video out, although I hope not. But if not, keep your eyes peeled, because it's set to be an absolute banger, with the third episode leaving you on a huge cliffhanger. The team has made a statement in the trailer's description that production had been halted for over a year while they were fighting a copyright claim against them, which I know that I think Toei, or is it Bandai, I'm not exactly sure, but I know that the Japanese companies can be a bit heavy-handed when it comes to copyright claims and stuff like that, so I'm sure that was an ordeal for them. So I'm going to try and make contact with the creators of DBD and see if I can actually get them an interview on this channel, just to talk about that process, what happened with it, what was the issues, and also just some further conversation about their inspirations, and what got them into animation in the first place. Because I think this is all really interesting, and I just want to give these fan projects a bit more humanization. I want to give faces to names, because I think that we need to support our fan animators and our fan creators as much as possible. And speaking of supporting our fan creators and our fan animators, one thing that I want to point out is that Dragon Ball Deliverance has a Patreon. Okay? They have a Patreon. And that Patreon is woefully neglected. Can we just put that out there? It has been woefully neglected. I went on that Patreon and I'm looking at it and it says something like £86 or something on it, how they're getting a month, and I'm like, whoa, if we want more Dragon Ball Deliverance, we gotta start putting some money in. So anybody who can or could, if you are a fan of Dragon Ball Deliverance, please donate whatever you can to the Patreon, and let's support the fan creators that are giving us the content that we really want, because let's face it, we're not going to get it from Dragon Ball Super. Well, I think that's about all I can say about Dragon Ball Deliverance, so I think it's about time that you sit down, shut up, and get watching. Until next time, here on Fanimation, peace out.